The thing about humans is that nobody warns you properly. Sure, you get the standard briefing. The Council transmits their little data packets about territorial species and diplomatic protocols. They mention Earth in passing, the way you might mention a particularly aggressive wasp nest on a hiking trail. But nobody, and I mean nobody, tells you what actually happens when you mess with them. Tira, my name is Vekron, and I served as the diplomatic liaison for the Karithian Fleet. Notice I said served, past tense. There is a reason for that, and it starts with a human named Marcus Webb. Now, before I get into what happened, you need to understand the galactic situation circa 2187. The Karithian Empire had been expanding for 3 centuries. We had assimilated 47 systems, absorbed countless species into our glorious collective. And nobody, absolutely nobody, had managed to tell us no, we were not conquerors in the traditional sense. We were persuaders. We would arrive, demonstrate our superior technology, explain the benefits of joining our empire, and within a lunar cycle, most civilizations would sign the accession treaties. Earth was supposed to be easy. They had barely achieved faster-than-light travel. Their ships were primitive, held together with what appeared to be optimism and prayer. They had no unified planetary government, no centralized military command, and their most advanced weapon systems were laughably outdated by galactic standards. On paper, Earth should have rolled over faster than a Shorthian pleasure bot in a diplomat's quarters. Commander Thrace, may his atoms disperse slowly, decided we did not even need the full diplomatic protocol. He sent 3 ships instead of the usual 12. He transmitted the standard welcome package, the one with all the lovely propaganda about peace and prosperity and technological advancement, and then he made his first mistake. He waited exactly 4 hours for a response. When none came, he assumed they were simply overwhelmed by the majesty of first contact, so he did what any impatient Karithian commander would do.
He ordered a demonstration.
Nothing lethal, just a little orbital bombardment on an uninhabited island in the Pacific Ocean. A show of force. A gentle reminder that resistance would be futile and acceptance would be wise. The missiles never reached the surface. I was monitoring the communications array when it happened, and I will never forget the confusion in the tactical officer's voice. Sir, the projectiles have been intercepted. Thrace did not even look up from his command tablet. Intercepted? By what? Unknown, sir. They simply stopped existing approximately 30 kilometers from impact. That got his attention. Stopped existing? Explain. I cannot, sir. They vanished from all sensors. No explosion, no debris field, no energy signature. They are just gone. I should mention that Karithian missile technology had never, not once in 300 years, been successfully intercepted. These were not crude kinetic weapons. These were quantum-locked smart projectiles that could adjust trajectory mid-flight and phase through conventional shielding. The idea that a species barely capable of FTL travel could neutralize them was absurd. Thrace drummed his fingers on the armrest of his command chair. Send a message. Tell them we have demonstrated our capabilities and that we expect formal surrender negotiations to begin within 6 hours. The response came in 90 seconds. A single line of text, transmitted in perfect Karithian standard. Go home. The bridge fell silent. In the entire history of our empire, no species had ever responded to first contact with a flat rejection. There was always negotiation, always dialogue, always at least a pretense of diplomatic consideration. But these humans, these primitive little creatures who had barely figured out antimatter containment, had just told the Karithian fleet to leave. Thrace's face shifted through 3 shades of purple.
Ew.
Unacceptable. Prepare the orbital stations. We will blockade their planet until they see reason. And that was mistake number 2. We moved into high orbit, establishing a standard containment formation around Earth. 12 ships, arranged in a geodesic pattern that covered every possible escape vector. Nothing could leave the planet without our permission. Nothing could enter without our knowledge. It was a textbook operation, one we had performed dozens of times before. The humans said nothing for 2 days. On the 3rd day, Marcus Webb died. He was not a soldier. He was not even particularly important by human standards. Marcus Webb was a cargo pilot, 43 years old, employed by something called the Luna Freight Cooperative. He was hauling a shipment of medical supplies from a manufacturing facility on the moon to a hospital complex in orbit above Earth. Routine run, the kind he had probably made 1,000 times. Our sensors picked up his ship as it left lunar space. Standard civilian transport, fusion drive, no weapon systems. Thrace sent the standard warning. All Earth vessels were to hold position and await inspection. Any attempt to breach the blockade would be met with force. Marcus Webb did not hold position. According to the flight data we recovered later, he received the warning. He acknowledged it, in fact. His exact words were, "Yeah, I heard you. Those kids in the hospital need these supplies today, not next week. So here is what is going to happen. I am going to fly my route, and you are going to get out of my way." Thrace gave him 30 seconds to comply. When Webb continued on course, Thrace ordered a warning shot. A single plasma burst, calculated to pass within 100 meters of the transport. The shot hit the transport's starboard engine nacelle. To this day, I do not know if it was a targeting error, or if Webb made a last-second course correction. The investigation concluded it was a tragic accident, a confluence of unlikely factors, but the result was the same. Marcus Webb's ship lost containment. The fusion core breached. He had approximately 8 seconds to understand what was happening before his ship became a brief, bright star in the darkness. We detected the distress signal. We detected the cascade failure. We detected the moment his life support went offline. And then we detected what came next. Every single communications channel on Earth went active simultaneously. Government frequencies, military bands, civilian networks, even the primitive radio transmissions they still used for entertainment. All of them, every single one, broadcast the same message. It was not a declaration of war. It was not a threat or a demand. It was just 3 words, repeated in every human language, and then translated into Karithian standard. "You killed Marcus." Thrace tried to explain,
He sent detailed telemetry data.
proving it was an accident.
He offered compensation, medical assistance for Webb's family, even suggested a memorial station in his honor.
He did everything the diplomatic protocols demanded. The humans did not care. 6 hours after Marcus Webb died, every human ship in the solar system changed course. All this, and I mean every ship, military vessels, cargo haulers, passenger transports, even the tiny short-range shuttles that ferried workers between orbital platforms, all of them, moving in perfect synchronization, heading directly toward our fleet. Tactical analysis showed over 1,600 vessels inbound. Most of them were unarmed. Many of them could not possibly survive the trip through our defensive perimeter. But they were coming anyway, and they were accelerating far beyond what their drives should have been capable of. "They are going to suicide run us," the tactical officer whispered. Thrace stared at the display. "That is insane. They will kill themselves." "I do not think they care, sir." And that was when I finally understood. These humans were not behaving like any species we had encountered before. They were not calculating odds or considering diplomatic solutions or even acting in their own self-interest. They were angry, purely, simply, completely angry. One of theirs had died, and now they were going to make someone pay for it. Consequences be damned. Thrace ordered the fleet to fall back. We retreated to high orbit, trying to put distance between us and the incoming swarm. But the humans matched our speed, matched our maneuvers, stayed locked on course like guided missiles made of flesh and fury. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission," the communications officer announced. "Play it." The voice that came through was old, rough, the kind of voice that had spent decades shouting orders in engine rooms and cargo bays. "Karithian Fleet, this is Captain Elena Ruiz of the independent hauler, Lucky 7. We are going to give you one chance to leave. One chance. You took Marcus from us. He was a good man, a good pilot, and he was just trying to do his job. You did not give him a chance, but we are better than you. So here is your chance. You have got 1 hour to break orbit and leave our system. After that we are coming through you, and I promise you will not like what happens next." Thrace cut the transmission. "They are bluffing. They have to be bluffing. We have 12 warships with full combat capabilities. They have cargo haulers and shuttles." I cleared my throat. "Commander, I recommend we consider their terms." He spun toward me. "Are you serious? We cannot let a primitive species dictate terms to the Karithian Empire. The Council would have me executed for cowardice. They would have you executed for losing 12 ships." I countered. "Sir, look at the tactical display. Really look at it. Those vessels are not running a coordinated attack pattern. There is no command structure, no battle plan. They are all acting independently, and yet they are all doing the exact same thing. That should not be possible. That level of species-wide coordination without central authority, We have no defense against that because it should not exist. Thrace studied the display for a long moment. The human ships were getting closer, tightening the noose around our formation. Some of them were broadcasting music now, strange human songs with titles like Knockin' on Heaven's Door and Highway to Hell. Others were transmitting personal messages, final goodbyes to families and loved ones. They really were going to do it. They were really going to ram our ships, knowing full well it meant their deaths, all because one cargo pilot had been killed by accident. This is madness, Thrace muttered. Yes, sir, I agreed. But it is their madness, and we are in the middle of it. He made his decision with 42 minutes remaining on the human ultimatum. All ships break orbit, set course for the edge of the solar system, maximum acceleration. We ran. The proud Karithian Fleet, conquerors of 47 systems, ran from a bunch of cargo pilots and outdated ships. And you know what? The humans let us go. They did not pursue beyond lunar orbit. They just stopped, held position, and watched us flee like startled prey animals. But we were not done with Earth. Oh no. Thrace was humiliated, the council was furious, and I knew that this was just the beginning of something much, much worse. Because 3 days later, after we had regrouped at the fleet staging area, Thrace received new orders. The council had decided that Earth needed to be taught a lesson about respecting galactic authority. They were sending reinforcements. 40 ships, the largest battle group ever assembled for a single operation. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that we were about to make the biggest mistake in Karithian history. The humans had shown us what happened when you killed one of them by accident. I really did not want to find out what would happen when you tried to do it on purpose. But that is exactly what we were about to do. The reinforcement fleet arrived exactly 6 days after Marcus Webb died. 40 Karithian warships, including 3 dreadnoughts that were each the size of a small moon. The council had sent Fleet Marshal Korvax himself to oversee the operation. Korvax was a legend, a tactician who had personally orchestrated the assimilation of 12 systems without losing a single vessel. If anyone could break human resistance, it was him. He listened to my report about the Marcus Webb incident with what I can only describe as amused condescension. When I finished, he actually laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Let me understand this correctly, Korvax said, his 3 eyes narrowing in sequence. You retreated from an armada of cargo vessels because they were upset about an accidental casualty, and you expect me to believe this justifies the council deploying 40 warships? Marshal, you had to see it. The coordination, the willingness to sacrifice themselves, the complete disregard for basic survival instinct. What I see, Korvax interrupted, is a failure of nerve. Thrace allowed emotional primates to intimidate him with theatrical displays. That ends now. We will establish a proper blockade. We will enforce compliance, and Earth will join the Empire, by force if necessary. I tried one more time. Sir, I strongly recommend we attempt diplomatic channels before resorting to military action. The humans are clearly more capable than our initial assessment suggested. Korvax waved a dismissive hand. Your concerns are noted and disregarded. We move into position in 3 hours. Prepare your diplomatic protocols. You will be delivering the surrender terms personally once we have secured orbital supremacy. Those 3 hours felt like 3 seconds. I spent them reviewing every piece of intelligence we had on Earth, trying to find some weakness we could exploit without triggering another incident. What I found instead made my blood run cold. In the 6 days since we had left Earth's orbital space, the humans had not been idle. Satellite imagery showed massive construction projects at every major spaceport. Their orbital facilities had tripled in size. And most disturbing of all, they had moved 17 large vessels into positions that formed a perfect defensive sphere around their planet. Not a blockade, not an attack formation, but a shield wall. They had been preparing for us to come back. When our fleet dropped out of FTL at the edge of the solar system, we immediately detected the human response. Every ship in their defensive sphere powered up simultaneously. Weapons systems went hot, shields engaged. And then they did something that made absolutely no tactical sense. They broadcast a message on open channels so that every single human in their solar system could hear it. This is Admiral Jessica Tam of the Earth Defense Coordination. To all Karithian forces, you are entering restricted space. You killed Marcus Webb. We gave you a chance to leave peacefully. You chose to come back with more guns. That was your choice, and you are going to have to live with the consequences. To all human vessels and stations, Protocol Vanguard is now active. Stay safe, stay strong, and remember Marcus. Protocol Vanguard. We had no idea what that meant, but we were about to find out. Korvax ordered the fleet into attack formation. The dreadnoughts took point position, their massive bulk protected by screens of smaller warships. We began our approach to Earth at combat speed, weapons charged and targeting systems tracking every human vessel in range. The humans did not run. They did not even move. They just sat there in their defensive sphere waiting. 50,000 kilometers to engagement range, tactical, announced. Korvax smiled. Fire on my mark. Target their orbital platforms first. Precision strikes only. We want to disable, not destroy. They need to understand what they are facing. 40,000 kilometers. I watched the tactical display, watching the distance close between our ships and theirs. Something felt wrong. The humans were too calm, too ready. This was not the desperate last stand I had expected. 30,000 kilometers. And then space itself seemed to wake up. The asteroids came first, hundreds of them, ranging in size from small cars to buildings, suddenly accelerating from the asteroid belt on trajectories that should have been impossible. They were not just falling toward us. They were being thrown, propelled by some kind of mass driver system we had not detected. Within seconds, our point defense systems were overwhelmed, trying to track and destroy the incoming rocks. Evasive maneuvers, Korvax barked. All ships, scatter pattern delta. But the humans were not done. As our fleet broke formation trying to avoid the asteroid bombardment, their ships moved. And I mean really moved. They accelerated at rates that should have liquefied their crews, pulling maneuvers that would have torn lesser vessels apart. Within 30 seconds they had closed the distance and were engaging our outer screen at point-blank range. Except they were not using weapons. They were ramming us. Multiple impacts on the starboard battle group, tactical reported. Voice climbing into panic territory. The human vessels are colliding with our ships deliberately. They are using their reactor cores as improvised explosives. We have lost 4 destroyers. 2 cruisers are disabled, and the dreadnought Relentless has sustained heavy damage to its port side. Korvax stared at the display in disbelief. They are destroying themselves to hurt us. That is not warfare. That is suicide. Tell that to the crews of those 4 destroyers, I muttered. More human ships were inbound now. Not just military vessels but everything that could fly. I recognized cargo haulers, mining ships, even what appeared to be a luxury yacht. All of them accelerating toward our fleet, with the clear intention of dying as explosively as possible. And that was when the moon fired. I am not speaking metaphorically. Earth's moon, the big gray rock that had been sitting there peacefully for billions of years, suddenly revealed itself to be the largest weapons platform I had ever seen. Sections of the lunar surface split open, and what emerged were railguns the size of skyscrapers. They fired in sequence, hurling projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed directly into our formation. The dreadnought Relentless took 3 hits in rapid succession. Its shields failed, its hull breached, and 17,000 Karithian souls died before they could even understand what was happening. The dreadnought broke apart like a toy, spilling atmosphere and bodies into the void. Fall back, Korvax shouted. All ships. Emergency retreat. Full reverse thrust. But the humans had anticipated that too. As we tried to retreat, we discovered they had seeded the space behind us with mines. Not conventional explosives, but quantum-entangled devices that detonated in perfect synchronization, creating a barrier of nuclear fire that we could not cross without taking catastrophic damage. We were trapped between the moon's railguns and the minefield, with human suicide ships closing in from all sides. In less than 5 minutes, we had gone from overwhelming superiority to complete tactical disaster. Marshal, I said quietly, we need to surrender. Korvax looked at me like I had suggested we dance naked through the bridge. The Karithian Fleet does not surrender. We have never surrendered. We will regroup, break through the minefield and retreat to a safe distance where we can reassess. Sir, we have already lost 8 ships and a dreadnought. If we try to punch through that minefield, we will lose half the fleet. And for what? To preserve our pride? Marcus Webb was one man. They have made it very clear they value their individuals more than we do. What do you think they will do if we kill thousands more? Another human ship impacted one of our cruisers. Sarah's explosion was visible even from our position. A brief sun in the darkness. Tactical confirmed the cruiser was dead in space. Life support failing. Crew evacuating in escape pods. And then the humans did something that changed everything. They stopped attacking. The suicide runs ceased. The railguns went silent. The entire human fleet simply held position, creating a corridor through which we could retreat. Admiral Tam's voice came over the open channel again. Karithian Fleet. This is your second chance. You came to our home with threats and violence. You killed Marcus Webb. You came back with more ships thinking you could intimidate us into submission. You were wrong. We have shown you what we are capable of. We have shown you what we are willing to do to protect our own. Now we are giving you a choice. Leave our system now, and do not come back, ever, or stay and find out what happens when we stop being merciful. Merciful. They called this mercy. We had lost 9 ships, suffered thousands of casualties, and been comprehensively humiliated by a species that was not supposed to be capable of organized resistance, and they were calling it mercy. Korvax stared at the tactical display for a long moment. I could see him calculating odds, considering options, trying to find some way to salvage victory from this catastrophe. But there was no victory here. There was only survival. Signal the fleet, he said finally, voice hollow. We are leaving. We limped out of the solar system with 31 ships, leaving behind wreckage and bodies, the shattered remains of Karithian invincibility. The humans watched us go but did not pursue. They had made their point. The journey back to Karithian space took 2 weeks. During that time I compiled my full report on what had happened. I detailed every engagement, every tactical mistake, every moment where we had underestimated the humans, and I concluded with a recommendation that would end my career. Earth should be designated a Category 5 exclusion zone. No contact, no trade, no exploration. The humans should be left alone, completely and permanently. They were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too willing to sacrifice themselves to protect their own. They were not a species we could assimilate or control, or even fully understand. The Council rejected my recommendation. They declared that Earth represented an unacceptable threat to galactic stability, and that a third, larger expedition would be organized to neutralize the human problem once and for all. That was 3 months ago. The Third Fleet never made it to Earth. It disappeared completely while transiting through neutral space. No wreckage, no distress signals, no survivors, just gone. The Council declared it a navigational accident and ordered a full investigation. I know better. The humans found them. I do not know how, and I do not know what they did, but 53 Karithian warships do not just vanish. The humans sent a message, and that message was very clear. Stay away from Earth. Last week I received my discharge papers. The official reason was medical leave due to psychological trauma from the Earth campaign. The real reason was that I had been right, and the Council could not tolerate anyone reminding them of their failure. So here I am, former diplomatic liaison Vecron, currently unemployed and spending my days at a trading station on the edge of civilized space. I make my living now telling this story to anyone who will listen. Most people think I am crazy. Some think I am lying. A few, the smart ones, listen carefully and then quietly adjust their trade routes to avoid anything even remotely close to the Sol system. Because here is what I learned about humans during those terrible days in Earth orbit. They are not the strongest species in the galaxy. They are not the smartest or the most advanced. But they are the only species I have ever encountered who value their individuals more than their collective survival. They will die for each other, they will kill for each other, and they will absolutely positively never forget when you hurt one of them. Marcus Webb was a cargo pilot. He was hauling medical supplies. He was just doing his job, and when he died, an entire planet went to war. That is what humans are. That is what they will always be. And that is why no one, not the Karithian Empire, not the Council, not anyone in this entire galaxy, will ever touch Earth again. One human died in orbit. That was all it took. One death, one spark, one moment of careless violence, and everything changed. The galaxy is a big place, full of wonders and horrors and mysteries beyond counting. But there is one place, one small blue planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star, where the smart money says you do not go, ever. Because the humans are there, and they remember Marcus Webb. They will always remember.